What up, everybody? Welcome back to Operation Moksha. As always, I'm your host, Chris Orozco, and today we're doing something a little bit different. I got something special for you. Today we're doing 10 ways to completely f your life into the ground. This is gonna be really fun. I got a good list for you, so let's get into this shit. The first one, which is probably not gonna be that surprising coming from me, and that's gonna be repress your feelings. This is really interesting because not repressing your feelings is really counterintuitive. When you have a bad feeling, you think, I don't wanna fucking feel that feeling. And so you go, oh, let me push that shit away. But if you've been following me for any length of time, or you know what shadow integration is, or just the dangers of repression, you know that what ends up happening is when you have a thought that you don't like, or a feeling that you don't like, or a part of your personality that you don't like, and you push that shit away, it doesn't actually go anywhere. It doesn't disappear, it doesn't die, it doesn't just like stop doing things. Instead, it fades away into the back of your mind in this place called the shadow, where it starts doing things from outside of your awareness in a way that you probably don't like, because the fact is you pushed it away because you didn't like it in the first place. So you push this thing away that you don't like, and now this thing that you don't like is out there making decisions for you, fucking up your relationships, causing you problems, possibly making you depressed or anxious, doing God knows what, and just wreaking havoc from outside of your awareness. So the thing to do is to pull it back into your awareness, reintegrate it into your life so that this little fucking devil that you pushed away is no longer out there just causing havoc in your life. Stop repressing your feelings. They have important messages for you. And if you're willing to listen to those messages, you will have a never-ending supply of wisdom that'll help guide you and turn you into the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. So number one, don't repress your fucking feelings. And number two, don't tell the truth. If you really want to fuck your life up, don't tell the truth. Lying about anything and everything is the surest way to fuck your life up because it disconnects you from yourself. The truth, no matter how terrible it is, no matter how confronting it is, no matter what it fucks up in your life, is always going to be better than the results of hiding your truth. Because like we said before, when there's a part of your personality you don't like, you push that shit away and it starts wreaking havoc. That is a break with the truth. There is something your mind is telling you that you don't like. Some experience your mind is creating that you don't like but is true. You may not like that you feel powerless. You may not like that you feel like a loser, but the truth is you do feel powerless, or you do feel like a loser, you do feel like whatever it is. Now, that doesn't mean that you are those things, but the truth is that you do feel those things. And if you can get back into alignment with the truth and figure out why you feel those things and begin integrating them, then your life can get back to wholeness. But how can you possibly live a life that is best for you if you're not going to be willing to be honest about what's best for you and let other people deal with that however they need to? Some people may not like your truth. Some people may hate your truth. Some people may want to attack you when you get into alignment with your truth. But that's not your fucking problem. People are gonna judge you no matter what you do. Especially, like, how shitty would it be to be the guy who gets judged for not telling the truth about who he really is and what he really wants, or whoever you are. Don't be that fucking person. If you're gonna be judged anyway, you might as well be judged for who you actually are, so that at least you have the internal peace of being like, yeah, okay, sure, some people don't like me, but at least I fucking like me. There is nothing to safeguard your well-being, your mental health, and the promise of a life that's actually best for you quite like the truth. So if you really want to fuck your life up, don't tell the truth.
And the truth shall set you free!
Now, the next genius way to fuck your life up is to isolate yourself. This is something that has become exceedingly easy and almost encouraged in our current society. You've got Netflix, you've got Hulu, you've got video games, you got porn, you got YouTube, you got fucking food delivered to your house, you got weed delivered to your house depending on where you live. You got all these fucking reasons to never leave your house, never go do things, and on top of that, everything is getting much more expensive, so it's harder to go out and do things depending on how much money you have. These are all these reasons to isolate yourself. However, that is a very quick way to just get into a really shitty mindset, a shitty lifestyle, and essentially downward spiral. You need other people in your life. You need good people in your life. Now, if you're isolating because you're, in a situation where you're kind of transitioning and maybe leaving an old shitty group of friends behind and trying to find a new one, I get that, but you still need to be active. You still need to be going to the places where the new people you want to meet are going. You need to be around people so that you can get that energy, so that you can find other people to collaborate and help build people you can talk about your problems with. Like, just having friends in your life, good quality friends that you actually spend time with, will have such a huge impact on your mental health. And isolating yourself, if you've ever done this for a long period of time, you know how easy it is to just slide into suffering and almost not even know how the fuck it happened. So this is really easy to do, and a real easy way to fuck your life up is to just isolate yourself. And I know it can be hard, I know it can be scary, I know a lot of us have social anxiety, but if you're following this channel, you're probably learning how to integrate all that shit. So face your insecurity, face your fears, face whatever fears are keeping you stuck, whether it's fear of other people, whether it's fear of failure, rejection, whatever it might be, face that shit, because you having good quality people in your life will be an enormous value add, and it will change your life in ways you might not even be able to anticipate. So if you really want to fuck your life up, isolate yourself. And now another surefire way to fuck your life up is to refuse to learn from other people. This is something that I did for a very long time, and I had my reasons. I grew up in a family of Jehovah's Witnesses, and nobody in my environment knew shit about shit, so I didn't listen to people because I was genuinely smarter than everybody that I grew up with, and I just kind of knew better about the world than they did. However, that served me really well in my childhood, but once I got into my adulthood, I needed to start learning from people. There was a lot of things I didn't know. I would have made a lot more money a lot sooner if I would have listened to a lot of people that knew what they were talking about. I could have done so many more things if I just listened to my friends that knew what the fuck they were talking about. This is still an issue for me, and I'm still overcoming it, and so I'm still learning to learn from other people. Because the problem is, I had this kind of like arrogant insistence that I knew better than everybody else because of my childhood. And that served me really well because it allowed me to create my own shadow integration framework. It allowed me to organize my business in a way no one else really had before. Like my sales process is different, my marketing process is different. All the things that I do in my business are different because I insisted on doing them my way, but I also refused to learn how I could leverage those things. And that's why, as many of you have pointed out, there is a criminal under viewership of my YouTube channel, and my Instagram page is not nearly as big as it could or should be. This is largely the result of me refusing to listen to people. But I'm growing now that I finally have people in my life that I trust, that I'm willing to listen to, and that's why I'm even sitting on this fucking thing right now, actually making quality YouTube content, because I listened to a friend who knows what the fuck he's talking about. My whole life has changed as a result of being willing to listen to people. And it was interesting because I actually heard someone who I really respect and someone who I think is really fucking badass and just on top of his game say that the way he got there was by being willing to shut up, learn, and listen to the people who were better than him at whatever else it was. And when I heard somebody that I really respected and admired say that, who's way above me on pretty much every metric on living, it was a wake-up call for me that I need to stop being so fucking arrogant and listen to the people in my life. And I've only been listening to people for like the last 3 months, and I've made a lot more money, I'm having a lot more fun, and everything's way better. So be better than me. Don't fuck your life up. Listen to other people. Another surefire way to absolutely fuck your life up is to not create a meaningful vision for your life. This doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense, but if you don't have a vision for your life, you're kind of living on autopilot, which is what a lot of people are doing. Like I used to have a roommate who she would go to work and she had a decent job, she had enough money, she was fine. But then when she would get home from work, she wouldn't know what to do with herself. She would just smoke a lot of weed, watch TV, listen to music, and that was pretty much it. And her life was very routine. And she didn't have a vision for her life. So when she was off work, there was no meaning, there was no purpose, there was no context, there was no meaningful context for her reality. So she just kind of got really stoned and waited for her next work shift. And I know that's how a lot of other people are living, right? Like you just go to work, you do your thing. That's your kind of purpose for life, is to show up for work and do a good job and not get fired. But then after you're done with work, you don't have an overarching vision for your life. You don't have a purpose for your life. You don't have anything that you're trying to accomplish. And so your life doesn't really have any context. And so you just kind of end up idly wasting your time and maybe getting into trouble and maybe getting depressed and maybe having all these other fucking problems in your life. But when you come up with a meaningful vision for your life, it gives context to your reality. It lets you know that like when you have a free moment, it's like, oh, wait a minute, there's that thing I want to accomplish. There's that thing I want to become. There's that thing I want to do. There's that thing I want to create. All your free time suddenly becomes alive. It has purpose. It becomes illuminated, and it gives you something to do so that you're not just becoming idle. You're not becoming depressed. You're not isolating yourself and just kind of getting into this repetitive routine of just doing like the same dumb shit every single day that is completely devoid of meaning for you. So if you create a meaningful vision for your life, it gives you context, it gives you something to do, and it gives you purpose for your life that I can't even tell you how much more fulfilling everything will be. And if you're the type of motherfucker that is just kind of going to work every day, if you find something truly meaningful worth living for, it'll actually give you something to transition out of your stupid job that you don't like and into something much better, which is what I did with my coaching work. I used to have to work for other people because I didn't have anything else to do. And then once I figured out what I wanted to do, all of my jobs just suddenly became a placeholder for once I was solid enough to start coaching full time. And once I got there, then I just kept building and building and building because my life had a meaningful vision. It had somewhere to go. So my free time wasn't just time to waste, it was time to create. It was time to do things. It was time to become what I wanted to become. And without that, I was depressed. I was kind of just floating through life aimlessly, just kind of seeking whatever pleasure I could and just doing dumb shit because I didn't have anything better to do. But once you create a meaningful vision for your life, you suddenly have something better to do, and it gives your whole life meaning and context, and you get yourself into a lot less dumb situations. So the next surefire way to fuck your life up that goes hand in hand with the last one is to seek easy pleasure. Again, this is another one of those things where you're rewarded and basically all but encouraged to seek the easiest pleasure possible. You've got unlimited porn at your fingertips. You've got more video games than you could ever play in your entire life. More Netflix shows than you could ever fucking watch. There's so many things that could be demanding your attention other than a meaningful goal. And these things, they're so enthralling. They give you so much dopamine. They give you so many positive chemicals that they make you feel like you're doing a good thing. But if you pay attention, and if you watch Netflix longer than you know you should, or if you play video games longer than you know you should, there's always some voice in the back of your head that knows that you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. And that's the voice that could be leaning you into a more meaningful life. That's the voice where if you listen to it and be like, okay, you say I could be doing more, what could I be doing? It'll actually start to tell you things. Say, oh, you could exercise more, or you could learn guitar, or whatever else that you wanted to do. You could start that business, you could do whatever. If you listen to that voice, it'll actually lead you to a life that is beautifully crafted just for you. However, that voice isn't really nice most of the time. So most people don't want to listen to it because what happens is if there's a voice inside of you that knows you could be doing more and knows you could be doing better and knows that you have untapped potential, but you spend all of your time pushing it away and either playing video games or jerking off to porn or watching Netflix or whatever it might be, that voice that knows that your life is going unlived is going to get angrier and angrier, being like, bro, like we have shit to do. You have a life to live. There's this whole thing inside of you trying to get out. Eventually it will get mad at you and it will start to become a bully. However, if you pay attention to it long enough and be like, all right, I know you want what's best for me. I know you're telling me there's more I could be doing. I want to know what those things are, and listen to it as shitty as it could be. And you let it vent out all of its shitty stuff that it's got to get out. Eventually, what will follow is good advice. So just remember, it's only being a shitty ass bully because you've been ignoring it and because it has something so important to say that it's going to get as heated as it has to in order to get you to listen to it. So if you're watching Netflix too much and there's a voice inside telling you that you could be doing more, listen to that fucking voice, because a surefire way to fuck your life up is to ignore that voice and then have it just absolutely ream you on your deathbed. Because there are some very common things that people regret on their deathbed, and not listening to that voice is a huge source of a lot of them. A lot of them are like not connecting with your friends more, not telling the truth about who you really are, not creating a life that's really meant for you. All these different things. A lot of people regret these things on their deathbed because your internal being wants to be self-actualized. You want to connect with other people. You want to have meaningful connections. You want to have a meaningful vision for your life. You want to be working towards something bigger than yourself. Like this is largely what people are designed to do, and you have a part of your mind that's designed to make you do that. So if you ignore that, instead of doing the hard things that will give you the real valuable dopamine and just getting it from video games and whatever else, you're not only leaving the version of yourself that you could become on the table, but you're also setting yourself up for exiting this planet not feeling very good about how you spent your time. So if you really want to fuck your life up, seek easy pleasure. So now another way to really fuck your life up is to care about the opinions of others, right? Now this is a little bit complex because it's not that other people are devoid of valuable criticism. It's just that you don't want to be living your life based on that criticism. What I do when I get criticism from other people is I check a couple different things. I check like, who is this person even criticizing me? Do I even give a shit about their opinion? Do they have a life that I want? Do I think that their criticism is capable of bringing me towards a life that I want? If it's not, then I genuinely don't really care what they have to say. However, if it is somebody that I really value their opinion, and even sometimes if I don't really value their opinion, sometimes motherfuckers can just like see the thing and just get you. And so sometimes you got to ask yourself like, okay, if their criticism hurts me, they might be right. Because you can really only be offended or hurt by ideas that you already believe. So if somebody's criticism hurts you or offends you or makes you want to be smaller or anything like that, it's probably hitting on something that you already believe. And the best thing for you to do is be like, okay, they gave me some criticism that did something inside of me. I don't like the way that it feels. They must be onto something. They must be at least pointing me to some kind of belief. Let me examine that and figure it out. But that's not what a lot of people do. A lot of people, when they receive criticism, they can collapse around it and they can just believe it. And they can just do all these sorts of things where it's like, oh, if somebody told me that I'm a shitty person, oh, I must be a shitty person. It's like, well, no, maybe you're just doing something that is healthy that the other person doesn't like. Sometimes when you set a boundary, sometimes when you stand up for yourself, some motherfuckers might be telling you that you're mean. But it's like, no, actually, I'm just taking care of myself. You just don't like it because I've disrupted whatever emotional engagement we were in that allowed you to walk all over my boundaries. Now you're freaked out and threatened and upset. That has nothing to do with you actually being bad. So in that time, that criticism doesn't fucking matter. However, you really have to develop this strong sense of self and be like, this is who I am. This is how I want to live. Otherwise, the criticism will really get in. Because criticism doesn't really bother me all that much because I know who I am. I know where I'm going in my life. I know who I want to become. I know what my values are. And I know when I'm in alignment with them. When I'm in alignment with my values and with my vision and who I want to be, there's literally nothing you could say to me that would bother me. However, it's when I'm outside of my values or not living up to my potential or who I really want to be, that's when criticism hurts. That's when I have to internally acknowledge, like, yes, I was not being who I want to be. You saw it, you caught it, you called it out. Fuck, I got to make some changes. I got to address this. I got to figure out why I was doing this thing that's out of alignment with my integrity or my values or who I really want to be. Now, that's the good way to deal with criticism, but a lot of people don't deal with criticism that way. A lot of people are so afraid of criticism that they hold themselves back, or if they do get criticized, they use that to keep themselves smaller, and this robs you of the ability to become who you really want to be and create the life that you really want to create. Because the thing is, like I've said in a prior point, you're going to get criticized and judged no matter what you do. So you might as well be criticized and judged for being the biggest, best, most integrated, whole, healthy, and expressed version of yourself that you can possibly be. It's like I said, you're gonna get criticized either way. If you decide to like shrink and become a shell of yourself, there's gonna be other people who are gonna be like, oh, you're a fucking coward. And it's like, what a terrible thing to be called. What a terrible experience to like shrink and become this thing and then be made fun of for it. Like that's fucking terrible. Whereas if you can become the biggest, best version of yourself that you're truly proud of, and if other people make fun of you for it, then it's just like, okay, like obviously I'm becoming something that you don't like. It's got nothing to do with me. My conscience is clear, I trust my values, I trust myself, I feel good about myself. Criticism stops bothering you. You don't have to shrink, you don't have to go back from all the things that you really want to do. You can accept criticism, you can integrate it, learn from it, and become a better person from it, and ultimately not have to avoid it anymore and get to live full out. So if you want to fuck your life up, be afraid of criticism. Care about what other people think. Let it define who you're going to be, and let that rob you of your connection to who you really are. Okay, so this last one is gonna be mostly for the dudes out there, but this is something that I see commonly enough to where it really has to get fucking talked about. If you really wanna fuck your life up, prioritize women over your purpose. That's a surefire way to fuck your life up. I did this for a very long time because I had mommy issues from my dad dying and being raised by a single mom, and so I just wanted to feel safe and secure, so I chose chicks over my fucking purpose for a very long period of my life, and it fucking sucked for a lot of reasons, and I'll tell you why. Here's the number one reason why it sucked. My life didn't have any purpose outside of pussy, which is a really dumb way to live because it's just not a very fulfilling thing to base your life off of, especially when you consider that the best women, the one that you actually want to be spending your time with, are the ones that are gonna love you because you've become someone worth being. And when you chase women over your purpose, you rob yourself of becoming someone worth being. You rob yourself of the ability to become someone truly worthy of love by the people that you want to be loved. And instead, if you don't have a main purpose and a focal point for your life outside of that, you'll find yourself doing all kinds of weird shit and caring more about whether or not this girl likes you and whether or not she's gonna like fuck you. You care more about that than you care about who you are as a person. And so you end up letting all these chicks into your life that aren't even good for you. You let them like belittle your boundaries and like you just become like a version of yourself that you don't really want to be, and it's really hard to be proud of. And 9 times out of 10, the women that you'll draw into your life are not the ones that you really want to be with anyway, because they're going to be mutually codependent and like put their relationship above their own needs and their own values, and you're going to just get into a fucking shitstorm that's just going to suck, and you're going to hate each other within like a year, and who knows where that's going to go. So instead, if you really want to have the most satisfying relationships with women possible, if you're a dude like me and you like women, then what you want to do is prioritize yourself as an individual first. Become someone strong, become someone who has a reason for living, and then look around at who makes that better. Look around at like, okay, like I could spend time with this woman, but actually she's kind of dysfunctional and makes it very difficult for me to do the things that I need to do, so she's not a very good environment. Whereas if you don't have an overarching purpose and all you really care about is getting the girl, you might put up with that shit that makes your life harder, that makes your life more difficult, and ultimately just makes you a lot more unhappy. Whereas if you have an overarching purpose for your life, then it's like, okay, here's who I am, here's how I want to live, here's what I want to create, here's who I want to become, all this sort of stuff, and you've got something to protect. And then you only let the people into your life that make that better. And so it allows you to like keep away all the dumb people, and it makes you really attractive to the good people, because the healthy, well-developed people are going to be attracted to healthy, well-developed people. However, the fractured people that put validation and all these sorts of things above who they really are, you're only going to be able to attract people who are similarly fractured, similarly damaged, and get into shitty trauma bonds that you don't want to be in. So if you actually want to create lasting relationships with people that respect you and that you get to respect and you get to trust that they're going to be a good influence in your life, build yourself up first. And while we're talking about this doesn't mean get fucking rich and like buy a Lambo and like try and flex that to try and get the girl, because that you're still prioritizing the girl over who you are. Like you're still saying like, I'm not that good as a person, so if I have a Lambo, maybe I'll get laid. Like that's fucking dumb, don't do that. Because that's how you get used. That's how you get gold diggers attracted to you. That's how you get all these dumb fucking problems you don't want to have. You want to prioritize who you are as an individual over all of that shit, and only allow the people in your life that also value you as an individual. Otherwise, you're just gonna get people that wanna use you. So if you really wanna fuck your life up and create really shit relationships for yourself, prioritize women over your purpose. Okay, so another really surefire way to fuck your life up is to get obsessed with politics. This is something that I see happening with people all the fucking time. Right? And again, it's an extension of not having a meaningful vision for your life, or kind of having your priorities in the wrong place, right? Because it's not like it's necessarily bad to be paying attention to what's happening in the world or to give a shit about it or want to make a change. That's not the problem. The problem is getting obsessed with politics, because politics are this like soulless thing that at this point in our current reality exists mainly to manipulate you into getting angry, staying afraid, and hating everybody else that doesn't believe you, or that doesn't think the way that you think. And that's a really dumb trap to fall into. So politics as they exist now are really devoid of any real meaning or any real value. And if you get obsessed with it, you're just gonna get more angry, you're gonna get more upset, you're gonna see the world as worse than it really is, because these politicians and the media that feeds you all this information, the way the media stays alive in the internet age is by keeping you angry. Because if you're angry, they know that you'll click. And if you're afraid, they know that you'll click. And with print media dying out, the only way that news media can stay relevant and get their clicks is by making sure that you feel angry and afraid so that you keep getting engagement. So that means that they're just gonna continue feeding you all this information that's designed to fracture your mind, get you to hate people that represent half of who you are and never let you integrate that shit, and keep you at odds with yourself, the world around you, and ultimately feeding you half-truths and having you repeat things that don't really make sense. Whereas instead of worrying about politics, you can still make a positive change for your life like I do. I just don't care about politics. I've decided that I want to help integrate the collective shadow. I want to make shadow integration a normal household thing that everybody can talk about and everybody does and everybody knows about. There's some political things for this because of the world that I want to create, but I don't really get into politics. I just get into, here's the world that I want to create, here's the things that I can do to push me in that direction, and not really worry about politics. Because when you worry about politics, you're trusting a more or less broken system with a bunch of broken people to fix the thing for you. And the beautiful thing about the world that we live in is that we have such power to create new realities and to change the reality that we're currently in. And if you get into politics too much, you're abdicating that power to people that don't care about you, that just want to use you and exploit you and not treat you very well and just make sure that you hate half the people so that they can get elected. Like, it's fucking stupid. So if you really want to fuck your life up, devote your life to politics and don't worry about all the ways that you as an individual can create positive change. Like, I know it's not huge. I know I'm not like 1 million followers or anything like that, but I know there's dozens of people that I've been able to help create a healthier life for themselves. There's hundreds of people with my content that I've helped create, possibly even thousands of people that I've helped create better lives for themselves. And this is gonna have ripples on the collective consciousness in the way that I want to see the collective consciousness shift. So I don't care about politics. I don't trust any politicians. I don't think anybody involved in politics wants the best for us. Maybe Andrew Yang, maybe, I don't know. But I don't think these people really want the best for us. I don't think the news media that's pushing all this information wants the best for us. It's best to just disconnect from that shit. Take a look at the world the way it is and see what you as an individual can do to create it. So if you wanna fuck your life up, entrust it to the politicians. So the next surefire way to fuck your life up is to be a stingy asshole. Now, I was broke for most of my life. I have been broke for most of my life. We had a little bit of money when my dad was around, but he died when I was 6, and we didn't really have a whole lot of money after he passed. So I grew up without a whole lot of money. We had a good house and everything, but I couldn't have the things that I wanted, so I learned to not ask for them. And as an adult, I learned that, money was hard to come by and it stressed my mom out. So I saw money as this, stressful thing. So I was pretty fucking stingy with it. But the interesting thing I didn't know about it was that it's easier to make money when you're generous. It's easier to get by in life when you're just giving out positive energy to people all the time. Generous with your energy, generous with your time, generous with your money, generous with everything. It just feels so much better. It's an interesting paradigm to be in when you only have so much money, or you only have so much energy, and so you're really protective of it. What that does is that just confirms to your mind that you have a limited amount of this shit. And so it's like you're confirming every single time that this is finite and there's not a lot, and you have to be protective over what you have, and anything impacting that is a huge deal. And that creates your reality. It compounds your reality that these things are scarce, that there's not a lot to go around. However, when you switch your mentality and you choose to be more generous with your time, with your love, with your energy, with your money, with your resources, with your everything, it switches your mentality into feeling like these things are limitless. And that has such an enormous impact on your inner world. Like I was kind of, for a long time in my life, as you might be able to guess by the way that I dress, I was kind of standoffish for a long time. You know, I had a lot of people hurt me. I didn't trust a lot of people from my upbringing. And so I just kind of wanted people to stay the fuck away from me. And it was fine. You know, I still had some good friends. I still had some fun. But now that I've switched my mentality into just being kind to everyone, I notice that I just feel so much better. I have a lot more energy. I feel better about myself. And I don't look at my internal or external resources as finite anymore. I look at them as like, oh yeah, I'll just give you some money. I'll give you some energy. I'll give you some time. I'll give you whatever. This doesn't mean that I have unlimited resources. Like I still need to be not necessarily protective, but I need to be aware of my capacity in any area and not overgive, because you have to give to yourself as well. So generosity goes for the external world and the internal world. You have to be generous with the time that you give yourself to replenish, and to be generous with the time that you give yourself to take care of yourself. The generosity goes in all directions, including within. So a really good way to fuck your life up is to act like your energy, your time, your money are all limited resources that you have to hoard and protect like a goofy little dragon. And instead, if you switch that around and trust that you have unlimited access to these things, both for yourself and the internal world, you'll kind of perk up, you'll wake up, your world will become much brighter, your relationships will become much better, and you probably find you even make a lot more money, or are at least a lot better with it. So if you really want to fuck your life up, be a stingy little goblin. So these are 10 ways to completely fuck your life up. I highly recommend doing none of them. In fact, I recommend doing the opposite that I've provided on pretty much all these examples. So hopefully this has illuminated some areas in which you may be fucking your life up. Some areas I'm still fucking my life up, and I'm still trying to course correct. So if you have any questions about these, I'd be happy to go deeper into any of them. Let me know. Be happy to take care of you. I love you. I'm Chris Roscoe. I'll see you next time.